Welcome back, everybody, to Week 4 Division 1 recap of Double Dip Draft Season 4. My name is Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers. Joining me today is...
Vincent, aka Spoopman, coach of the Heerlen Hauluchas.
And today we're going to be taking a look at the 4 fire matches from Week 4 of Division 1. There is a lot to chew on here today, man. Week 4...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, crazy week. I mean, the thing about Week 4... Like 3, 4, and 5 are big pivotal weeks, or rather, that's when it starts to get more and more important because you'll sort of start to see some people's draft, right? Their chances at making playoffs are either going to be make or break this week. So the results really, really mattered.
Yeah. Sure did.
Yeah.
And that shows a lot in these matches, for sure.
It does, definitely. And I mean, honestly, let's waste no time. Let's just jump right into it. I'm excited to talk about it. Our Week 1, or rather, excuse me, our Match 1 from Week 4, Season 4, Division 1, Double Dip Draft. We've got Imitable Mask, coach of the Minneapolis Magnezones, versus Phantom Knight, coach of the Haunted Mansion, Gengars. Both of them going into this match were at 0-3, so one of these two was going to pick up their first win, and it ended up being Phantom Knight by the skin of his teeth.
And skin of his teeth is very... a little sad. Like, this is so close, this match. It was amazing. It could have been anyone at the moment.
Yeah.
This is probably also my favorite match of this week right now.
This...
And you'll see why.
Yeah, this match was goofy. We'll take a look. Sure. Yeah, tell the people about this Gigalith.
Oh, this Gigalith. I was working with mass together with this Gigalith. This is something. Look, he sent out Primarina against Gigalith, and Primarina is forced to switch out here. We don't see why, but this Gigalith is massively specially defensive. With Sandstorm, Assault Vest, and Max Investment in HP in special defense, it's able to hit like a truck, set up Stealth Rock Scare... wait, no it wasn't. Sorry. That was a different one. It has Assault Vest, so it's very offensive, but... If Primarina were to Hydro Pump here, it would do like 25%.
Yeah, it would do
and then it would just return kill with the heavy slam here. Yeah. So this was a very special one. But Phantom Knight caught on and went into Registeel. He knew, he's staying with Gigalith into Primarina. Something has to be up here.
Yeah. Also, I want to let the people know, it may seem a bit innocuous, but take a note of that hammer arm crit. It'll make sense here in a minute. Basically, when Sandslash comes in the sand, it has Sand Rush, it's doubled speed. Mask gets a little cheeky with the Swords Dances. He gets up 2, loses the Sandstorm speed buff, but Registeel still dies to an Earthquake. Yeah. So Phantom Knight, he kind of took a cue from his last couple of weeks, and he switches out. Whereas versus like Firebolt, he was staying in very ardently. He's actually switching around this time.
Yeah, Phantom Knight stayed in a lot in his games, but this time he started switching out, something Mass did not predict, and thus the Earthquake missed on the Tornadus. And Tornadus was able to get a very strong U-turn off back into Primarina. But sadly, Primarina dies to a crit.
Dies to a crit.
Take note
Remember
here,
that.
This is the second
dies
crit.
To a crit. Second crit. That's crit number 2. Thing comes back in. Swords Dance Scolipede, that's fine. That was a really greedy Swords Dance. And Phantom Knight pays for it. Crit didn't really matter on that, but certainly a Stone Edge on a Scolipede is going to kill it anyway. That's crit number 3. Ironhead here is crit number 4. Does a lot of damage to the Gigalith. That one does matter a bit.
Yeah, this one did matter, because Registeel would have survived with like only 20% at best after the second Earthquake, and then it wouldn't have been able to tank a lot.
Yeah.
So
now keep in mind, this is a non-stab Earthquake. Registeel, it's so thick, it's gonna live this thing.
Exactly, right?
Until it gets crit number 5, at which point you're like, that seems a little goofy. Oh, wait a second, is that crit number 6? That Shadow Ball shouldn't kill. That's fine. There's not gonna be any more. It's not like there's gonna be a 7th crit.
Like, you can hear them. We're still laughing about it like days after the match.
This game is so ridiculous. Game. Just literally look at this. Hold on. So I want to show you every crit like in a row here. So Hammer Arm crit. And then hold on, the Rock Slide here on the Primarina switch in. Just boom crit.
Boom crit.
That's fine. Hey, Stone Edge on the Scolipede crit.
Crit!
Ironhead, crit!
Crit!
Oh, fucking hold on, wait. Earthquake, crit!
Earthquake,
Shadow Ball, crit!
Crit!
And then Shadow Ball, crit! Dude, what happened?
I'm sorry, like, we were in the call watching this live and everybody was just on the floor fucking laughing about this. This was so amazing to see.
Yeah, there's no way. Like, they had to all be running, like, scope lens or something. Like, there's just...
Yeah.
It was ridiculous how many crits. It was just, like, 7 crits. Just bam, 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 bam.
Like, I talked with Mass about this one. The Togekiss didn't run Air Slash because it didn't do shit against his opponent's team.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually advised him to run Super Luck. That little bit of extra luck for the crit might net him the win. Apparently that counted for the entire match, not just Togekiss.
Yeah, it turns out it has kind of a universal effect. Super Luck was in play.
Yeah. So here, the Mew predicts Transform. Goes into another. Yeah, transforms into Electivire for his own ability to take the Electric move to get a speed boost. And then it's like, I got this. Let me just attack him with an Earthquake, right?
It doesn't have Earthquake.
And then he realizes the Electivire doesn't have Earthquake, so he goes for Hammer Arm and it just doesn't kill, and the Fire Punch goes in. The Electivire actually didn't have Earthquake, which kind of sucks at this moment. So, yeah, the Shadow Ball in kills the Electivire, and here comes the tightness of this game. Tornadus against the Togekiss. Shadow Ball hits a lot. Nasty plot here. Tornadus is very scary. And this is where Mass switches up.
That is where Mass loses this game, right here. He switches on this Tornadus instead of just getting a little more damage or trying to chance a crit. And this Salamence just dies.
Sadly. Because if Togekiss just Shadow Balled here and then died, I believe Salamence would have been able to kill it somehow.
Maybe. I mean,
that Hurricane was very greedy, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah. If that Hurricane missed or he didn't switch to Salamence, I believe Mass was able to take this game. But look at this. One Pokemon, 10% HP. That is the difference.
Yeah, absolutely 10%. Tight game.
A extra high roll here would have just ended it on the other side, or a miss, or something like that. Or maybe, of course, another crit.
Right, well,
but, you know. Sadly, all the crit luck ran up at the end of the game, and that's how it ended.
Yeah, just absolutely insane. I love just the it's so funny. I feel so bad for Mass because he really wanted to get his first win. He was working really hard.
Yeah.
You know, he was just like in calls grinding, you know, all week. Like, I'm gonna beat Phantom Knight. I gotta beat Phantom Knight. And to have a match that just goes full zany mode, I mean, it's crazy.
It is crazy. But this is the outcome. Phantom Knight takes his first win, and Mass will have to try the next week to see if he can take his first win as well. Yeah,
Mass, at this point, it's looking very grim for Mass's chances of playoffs, so I think he's going to have to kind of shift his game plan now to be more about, okay, how do I pick up just a win somewhere? And his next week is IDM, so it's going to be rough, but, you know.
Oh, that's rough,
yeah. Maybe IDM fucks around again, yeah. Well, no spoilers. We'll get to it.
No spoilers, or maybe Mass can tip the scales in some way or another.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
We will have to see. Why don't you introduce us to the next match?
Exactly, we will. At the first hall, at the second match of this week, we have on one side Kenneth, coach of the Neerdowell Nidokings, versus Scoots, coach of the Dumblespoods army. One of the still kind of interesting match, but also one of the most normal matches I've seen. There wasn't really a lot that happened there. It was just both of them duking it out face to face, punch by punch.
Yeah.
So
this one was very interesting. This one was less significant in terms of like its actual turn-to-turn, moment-to-moment gameplay, and it was more significant in terms of what it means for the score. Because going into this, Kenneth was at 2-1, right? So he had 2 wins, and he had lost to IDM the previous week, whereas Scoots was sitting at a clean 3-0. He had clean swept his division up to that point. And for Kenneth to take this win was very, very important for his chances at playoffs. Especially, again, don't want to spoil anything, but there was some happenings elsewhere in the division that made it way more important that Kenneth got this match.
Yeah, and especially just the change from Scoots dominating and Kenneth sitting in the sidelines. This went to a very neck-on-neck race for them to get to the playoffs.
Yep.
Because that evened the scales here very well.
Yep.
So we start out here with a match champion Tapafini. Not a bad matchup. knockoff here to get the item off, very good choice, and then the poison jab just hits for a lot of damage. Feeny stays in for the Moonblast, doesn't get the kill, and then a dynamic punch. But no confusion, because Misty Terrain is up.
Right, Misty Terrain prevents confusion as well as other status.
Yeah, so we were speculating a bit about why he used Dynamic Punch here, but he probably predicted the Scissor or the Rhyperior going in. That would still hurt them a lot. But Scoots was like, nah, I'm just staying in Tapu Fini. I can do this.
Yeah, fuck it, I'll sack it. It's funny how long Tapu Fini lives here too. It actually just sticks
around
for a while.
Like it was first turn sacrifice fodder, and it still lives to now right now. Now it dies, and by sacrificing Claydol, Kemeth does get the Stealth Rocks up, which is great because that prevents any Sash plays from happening. Now he sacrifices the Machamp here against the knockoff, very good choice. To go into Tapu Lele to just Moonblast dead.
Yeah, it's interesting how Scoots is very hesitant to switch around. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't see Scizor come out. I have to assume that Lele gets like, I don't know, Mystical Fire or something, and maybe Scoots was like over predicting.
I actually don't think it does get that. Like a Psychic would still probably hurt a lot, considering Scizor doesn't have that good of a special defense or like a Moonblast. But being able to get a Sword Stance off and then Technician Bullet Punch Tapu Lele would still like hurt like a truck.
Well, the Bullet Punch on Lele is not going to happen because of the terrain. Remember, terrain does block priority, so it kind of makes
maybe
some
that's
sense.
why.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the Pangoro Sack kind of makes sense, but it's just sad to see like a full health Pokemon just dies to a raw Moonblast, and it's like, yeah, there's nothing you could have done about that, really.
Kind of disappointed, but that just happened. So Rhyperior is here to pick up the slack and hit Gastrodon with her Stealth Rocks. So now we got rocks on both sides, which means Sash is out of the window. So Rhyperior goes for Earthquake, Gastrodon goes for Scald. Barely missing the kill, but getting the burn onto Rhyperior, making Rhyperior very difficult to use here. Switching out here makes it completely useless, because now it dies to the entry hazards, and Gastrodon getting a free heal up. Now the Meowstic getting Toxic and setting up screens will be important here. But Ninetales will also be setting up Reyes and Hail here. So now we got two sides bit tanking it out.
Yeah. This is hard. I mean, seeing the Moonblast does so little to Meowstic behind the screen. It only does 14%.
Jesus.
And if you're
Meowstic
right
is
now,
kind of tanky.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, if you're Scoots right now, you're thinking like, okay, my Rhyperior is as good as dead. My Meowstic is kind of just setting up screens. So Scoots needs to make some plays happen where his Scizor Spectrier combo has to kill everything like relatively soon.
Yeah, and, it sure does, and I think it can.
Yeah,
so he goes to the Scizor here.
Yeah, and then this is a big freeze. Actually, this helps a lot.
Yeah. This is the most. This freeze happens, and Scoots is just sitting here like, oh. Well, guess I die.
Yeah, I guess I'll die. You'll notice that the... Actually, I wanted to point something out, too, real quick. He doesn't go for Bullet Punch here, because the Aurora Veil comes out before it says he's frozen solid. So I'm not really sure what his click was there. I assume he must have just clicked Iron Head, or maybe even U-turn, but...
Yeah, probably Iron Head, because Bullet Punch, I can understand that it doesn't kill right there, because, Scizor had no setups. And Ninetales Alola was still at very high HP.
Yeah.
But now we get the Scizor out here again. Goes into the Scald and gets Thawed.
Yeah.
Good play by Scoots, switching into the Scald to get Scizor Thawed.
Very smart. That is like a little micro interaction that you're not going to see that often, given that like Freeze isn't super prevalent. But if you are frozen and you switch into Scald, one of the side effects of Scald is that it instantly thaws out anyone that gets hit by it. So
yeah, same goes for Scorching Sands and a lot of fire moves actually.
Yeah, that's actually.
But now he goes into the Sword Stance. Gets scalded,
and then there's the burn. Yep. Good fortune from Kemeth. He gets the burn right when he needs it.
Yeah. A lot of status effects this game.
That is true. This is like an IDM game. With all the burns and paralyses and toxics and things.
Yeah. So Rhyperior dies there, predictably to the Stealth Rocks having only 2% HP. Meowstic goes in for probably his last turn, because right now he just dies to Toxic. Gets up a light screen, which is great, considering it makes his Scizor being able to tank more. Though it's 16%, not sure what it's going to do a lot.
Yeah, especially after coming to
the Spectrier. Yeah. So Spectrier tanks it, gets a special defense drop, kind of hurts. But yeah, he doesn't need to. He doesn't really can't take the special defense drop here. Sacrifices Scizor to go into Spectrier once more. maybe for the sweep here. The Hex does almost kill Gastrodon, but it does over health, so the Gastrodon's recover here is sadly in vain, and he will not die here, actually. Because he switches out.
Yeah.
The Ninetales dies to the Hex, but here comes the problem. Hail is up, and guess who has Slush Rush?
There's no reflect. Even with a reflect up, I doubt that this would have lived a
because Arctozolt has a lot of attack. It was life orbed, and it double damage when he goes first. It's electric type Vicious Rend.
Yep, it's just really strong. Really, like, Kemeth just kind of holds it together. He gets some good fortune, but it's not like a crazy... There's no one, piece of luck where you're like, oh, that made like a massive difference. It's more like a lot of little things, like the Scald burns when he needs it to. He gets the Spadef drop on Spectrier, which forces it out to go back into Scizor. There's a couple little micro... And obviously, like, the freeze for, like, that turn gets him up Aurora Veil. So Kemeth does, like, maximize his good fortune. But honestly, I mean, it was just kind of a back and forth. Like, it was a very, when we were looking at it and doing our notes before we started recording, we said it was just like a very standard Pokemon battle. This was kind of what I wanted to see from Kemeth, because he was kind of floundering slightly. I mean, he played, I think, really well versus IDM, but there was sort of a couple of weird, like the pickpocket play he wasn't prepared for, and he kind of just got whittled down. And then before that, his Mass win was very, very close, and his Woody win was a bit closer than he maybe would have liked. This, I think, even though it was just kind of like a standard fight, and maybe he had a bit of good fortune, this was like Kemeth holding it together, like executing a game plan, and just like getting his end game that he needed. And I don't know. This was kind of the textbook stuff that I was hoping I would see Kemeth do.
Yeah. And Kemeth did, and Kemeth takes the win in this regard.
Yeah, and that's a big win.
3-0 win on Scoots.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that sounds like a good game.
Yeah, that's a good game.
We still have 2 more. Yeah. Sure. And we have 2 more to go. So take it away. Next game.
Next game, we have got Claire, the coach of the Maryland Manectrics, versus Woody, the coach of the Schaumburg Salamences, playing their first match together. Going into this, this match was a bit tough. Claire was at 3-0. Woody was at 0-3. So there was a very clear favorite to win this match. And by God, did the favorite win this match in a pretty... It's almost hard to say that it was like a brutal 6-0. It wasn't exactly a sweep. It was kind of just this methodical kicking of table legs until it all fell over. I mean, just Woody had no answers for Rotom, didn't really have answers for like screens, didn't have a good answer for Comfy outside of Caparaja, which was kind of misplayed. I mean, and Woody, despite being at 0-3, he looked okay in his matches where he was losing, right? Like, he lost barely to IDM, he lost barely to Scoots, he lost barely to Kemeth, well, maybe the Kemeth loss was maybe like a little more wide, like maybe a 3 or a 4-0, but he looked fairly strong. This did not look like a strong Woody.
No, this is just like, it kind of pained me to see this. Like, this matchup was already very difficult for Woody himself. Having the Apodon with Sunstream is good, but Claire having Tyranitar and Excadrill both on her team makes that very difficult to use right now. And also just facing the monster that is Claire, who's been 3-0 and has been kind of really strong in all her games.
Yeah.
Facing that is difficult. I can understand that he has been, like, I can understand that he was probably very nervous for this one, and it also kind of shows in this game.
Yeah.
But it was still a good game nonetheless.
Yeah. It's worth watching. Yeah. And we'll go ahead and start right now. There's a couple of like interesting things. Like this Sharpedo Open is interesting. Claire just goes like right for the Will-O-Wisp, which, like, fair enough.
Like there's only, I believe, only Noivern or pretty much only Noivern or Dragapult. Just doesn't really matter that much because they can go special attack. So Will-O-Wisp was a great one to use here.
God.
And that Hydro Pump hits like a truck. You can see
it's
how not tanky Sharpedo is.
That's not like even life orb or anything. It's just like it's leftovers.
We're gonna see a lot of this Rotom. Like it takes a flip turn like it's nothing, and like the switch into Lycanroc was very debatable.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what he was expecting Claire to do there.
Yeah, but that's still fine.
He like baits out the Volt Switch, and then it gets nothing for it. By switching into Hippowdon, he just still like takes a hit on something.
Yeah. Like Woody is trying to get something, trying to get some value out of it, but Rotom Wash is just too strong of a Pokemon. It is too big of a coverage for him to really deal with.
Yeah, he just like cannot find momentum.
Yeah. And now the Copperaja goes into the thingy, but the Reflect has been set up, and now with Tyranitar being very much nearly unkillable right now. But he just goes back into this. Takes the Flip Turn and the Reflect, goes into Copperaja again to see if he can counter the Fairy type with his strong Steel type. And back to Rotom Wash we go, taking Heavy Slime like a boss. This Rotom, man.
This thing gets Power Whip, so I don't know. I guess he must not have been running it, but...
Or it was banded or scarfed. We don't know, actually. But, as Woody said in the chat, how thick is that thing?
How thick is that thing? This,
not thick enough for the Dragapult.
No, clearly not.
But here, this is something that Woody didn't see coming. The Comfey has an ability that actually gives priority on draining moves, making it outspeed Dragapult.
Yep. So
that is Dragapult's dead in a very, very painful way.
Yeah.
Dying because an ability exists. That Sharpedo down to the Excadrill, which, as a note, gets buffed by the Sandstorm, which makes Hippowdon also very nasty. And here the Levitate, just Rotom goes in again, tanks a hit, and just starts doing his stuff.
Claire makes a very aggressive double there, but I think she's just feeling herself at this point. Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you? You know, fuck it. Like
exactly, because Sand Rush, it'll just outspeed everything, and Earthquake, even against the tank like Hippowdon, it just hits so hard.
Yeah.
And now it can just freely set up, because Hippowdon has to heal here, Earthquake won't do a lot, and now Excadrill could just hit hard. That's not what Claire here is about. Claire switched into Rotom. Expecting an Earthquake, but getting Whirlwinded, actually. Which is kind of interesting, but here the Earthquake Predict happens anyway.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, at this point, I think like Will-O-Wisp on this thing.
Will-O-Wisp, yeah.
I don't know. This part,
and then getting Whirlwinded.
This is like you've just fallen down the stairs and you're just like in a daze, like trying to figure out how to play Pokemon again. I seriously this just falls apart completely at the end.
Yeah, like if Hippowdon got Mold Breaker or something, that Rotom would have been dead 5 times over. But no, it just kept going into Earthquake.
Keeps bringing it in. I will say,
huh? Yeah, and now we get the same stuff. The Comfey can just outspeed Noivern here, so he has to go into Copperaja, but it doesn't heal a lot. Synthesis does something, but back into Rotom we go.
Yeah, Synthesis would have healed more, but on account of the Sandstorm, it has its healing down from half your HP to a quarter.
Yeah. It kind of hurts, but outside of Sandstorm, it's a great healing move. And
that's true.
Drake Meteor prediction, and here he doesn't switch out the Noivern, so Draining Kiss will just nearly kill it.
Yeah.
Hurricane just doing not enough, but the confusion here, and switches out.
Yeah, Claire at this point knows that she's won, so she's just trying to play for like the 6-0. She really wants the extra differential, and
like she's currently like a lioness playing with her food right now.
Yeah, just really
going for the 6-0. And here the Copperaja dies, and also GTP's Woody's chance of winning because the Noivern just can't hurt Tyranitar right now. It's way too tanky. The Crunch with the defense drop, we'll just finish it off here because it can roost here. But it'll just die.
Yeah.
And that's the end of this game, getting 6-0'd by... Which is completely fine by the monster that is Claire.
Yeah, Claire's sitting pretty at the top of the division right now.
Yeah.
My god. I'll tell you what, I think that Woody's main sticking point is his Dragapult. I think that he has not utilized it at all in any of his games so far. And people come prepped for it, but he just doesn't play around the prep. And he loses his, like, tier 1. But he, like, tries to keep it competitive with his lower tier Pokemon. I just feel like if he wakes up and he realizes, like, oh my god, wait, Dragapult's such a good Pokemon if I use it right, then, I don't know. I feel like he could get a lot more mileage out of it than he does. And I think that could be the difference between him winning or losing a lot of these games.
Yeah, and maybe also if he just takes a little time to check a few things. Like, the Hippowdon with Sandstorm is always a great one to use. But right now, how much does it really benefit his team? It doesn't help Copperaja. It doesn't help. It helps Lycanroc a bit for the special defense, but Lycanroc is not tanky enough as we see. It still dies to the Hydro.
Lycanroc has Sand Rush, So it can help his Lycanroc like do sweeps, although switching it hard into the Hydro Pump was very questionable.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But the opponent also has Sandrush and Excadrill, and that's a very dangerous way to use Hippowdon then.
Yeah.
But it still works. Maybe you could have like doesn't Hippowdon get like Sand Veil where its evasiveness goes up in Sandstorm?
I believe
Maybe you
so.
could use
I believe so, yeah. You know, what Mass did was he has a similar issue where he has a Sand Setter in Gigalith, and when he fought Claire, he ran Sand Force on his Gigalith to abuse the sand without having to set it up. I think that's kind of the mindset that you should have against like Claire or similar weather setters, where like if they're spamming like Sand or Sun or Rain at you, you know, look at your draft and see if maybe you can hijack some of those benefits without having to set up. Because that would be, you know, like, that's ideal.
Like, I don't know if it was, it was the week before week 3. I did the same. I sent out Gyarados against the Pelipper with Drizzle, and I ran Thunder and Hurricane on Gyarados.
Yep.
Because I could. There was rain. They would never miss, and Gyarados with max special attack investment would still hurt like a truck against them.
Yep. It's clever. I mean, it's, you know, you don't get to fight rain that often unless you're in Division 1, in which case you're fighting, like, a weather a week, basically. Like, you've got hail, 3 people with sand and 1 person with sand and like sun. So Division 1 has a ton of weather, but I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic when you consider it, and I think maybe Woody could have played more to his strengths without setting up the sand.
But that's fine.
Yeah, 6-0.
I think Woody can still make a strong case for himself in the next weeks.
Yeah, he needs to
because his team
pick it up.
is solid. It has good tanks, great offense. Just needs to get the right dynamic going in his team to utilize him more effectively.
Yeah. I still maintain, even after this 6-0, that I would be very surprised if Woody went the entire season without getting at least 1 win. I really feel like he's going to get something.
Yeah. Like he got this. Like, we believe in you, Woody. Spoon and I believe in you. You got this, Woody. You can get that win.
You got this, Woody. All right.
You got this, Woody.
Vincent, my friend, would you like to introduce us to the final, most notable match of Week 4?
Oh yeah, lovely. Like this, like, okay, we have only, this is, okay, let's start with the beginning. At the one hand, we have IDM, coach of the Brussels Espeons, the overlord of the whole draft, because he, like, how many losses does he have in, like, 4 or 5 seasons?
He just picked up his 5th loss of all time, I believe.
Oh yeah, this match.
Yeah.
And then we have Firebolt, coach of the Minnesota Magikarps, fighting him. Now, let me just start out by saying we have only a single note on this whole match, and it just says ring target. And you're going to see why.
Yeah.
It's so, I don't know what to say. IDM, personal message from me to you. What?
What the fuck? So, let me lay the sort of scene, right? The groundwork for this match. IDM is a Titan. He is our top seed. It is a tough thing to get a win on IDM for. He won Season 2. He has never, just for the record, he's never placed lower than 3rd in all of Double Dip Draft. He always makes playoffs. He's, you know, incredibly scary in group stage. He's just amazing at this game. Firebolt is a contender. He had a rough opening couple of weeks, right? He lost to Claire on the head smash miss. He lost to Scoots, just like outright, just lost to him. So his week 3 versus Phantom Knight, he pulled that win. He was seeded to win it, and his week 4 is versus IDM. And Firebolt's thinking to himself, okay, I don't have to beat IDM to qualify for playoffs, but it makes it way more likely. And given that he was dragging behind, he was at 1-2, right? 1 win and 2 losses. He really needed this win. IDM, however, the Mat God, decides that this is the perfect opportunity to demo some stupid meme shit. And he certainly does demo some stupid meme shit. Take it away.
Like, goes into Regieleki, immediately has to switch out because Swampert just takes it. Stealthrock's getting set up, so any focus sash is out of the window. The Whimsicott's going to Giga Drain here, and then switching the ring target on Corviknight, actually, and then dying to Iron Head.
So here's the thing about I want to explain that ring target. So that switch onto Corviknight, I believe, is to set up for his Silvally. He reveals later it's Silvally Ground. which is not a Silvally that you see a lot, or at least it's not one of the more meta Silvallis. Maybe it's more popular in like the very lower tiers, but I don't play them enough to know. But what IDM was thinking was, I'm going to trick a ring target onto either Corviknight or Swampert or both. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to Earthquake that, or like Earthquake or multi-attack that Corviknight, and I'm going to Rising Voltage or Thunderbolt that Swampert. And if you're not familiar, Ring Target is a held item that if you bring it, it removes all of your Pokemon's type immunities. So ground types can be hit by electric type moves, flying types can be hit by ground type moves, so on and so forth.
It's an absolutely stupid item, and the fact...
It's not like, meta, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, it's not. Now, here we have just a slugfest between Battlesand and Swampert just duking it out a bit. Swampert hitting with Earthquake, Battlesand shoring up, Swampert hitting with Earthquake, Battlesand shoring up, Swampert hitting with Earthquake, until one of them just breaks and switches out and does something else.
Yeah, it's funny, they both just like do it at the same time. So it's one more Earthquake shore up, and then Swampert switches and Palossand Scorching Sands on the same turn.
Yeah. So here the Scorching Sand hits Sylveon, kind of weak, because Sylveon as special defense is very tanky. Hyper Voice is over half, so shoring up has no use anymore at this point. Gets the burn on the Sylveon, but here the Palossand dies to Hyper Voice.
Yeah, and just a note for anybody who might be confused, who's not super into Pokemon, the reason Hyper Voice, normally a normal type move, is hitting a ghost type Pokemon is because of Sylveon's ability Pixelate, which turns a normal type moves into fairy type moves and gives them a slight power increase. Sylveon quite commonly will run Hyper Voice to abuse that.
Because Hyper Voice would be a way stronger move than Moonblast, actually. I think it does have base... Like, you always get the stab, but I think it also gets like a base power increase, so Hyper Voice goes from 90 to like 102 or something.
Yeah, something like that. And it also goes around subs, which helps.
Yeah, and this is something, if you can go back a few turns, that is something I honestly, I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, here the multi-attack Sylveon goes for the death. Now it goes Swampert here. Swampert will most likely use a Water move or an Ice move, and he goes to Dragonite. I understand that he predicted like a Water move here, but the Ice move would have done the exact same thing and would also hit the predicted Dragonite.
Yeah.
So there was no reason for Firebolt to not go for an Ice move here. So Dragonite, which in past weeks has destroyed people with the weakness policy shenanigans, just gets wasted here.
Yeah.
Pretty much no reason.
I mean, IDM doesn't even really have... I mean, he has Hazard Control, right? He can Rapid Spin with Regieleki, he can Defog with Whimsicott, but he sacked his Whimsicott to get the Ring Target trick, and Regieleki, I don't even know if it has Rapid Spin. It reveals a couple of its moves later, but... with the rocks up, you know, obviously it's not heavy-duty boots, Dragonite, so... He should have just been aware, like, I don't know, the hard switch, I'm not really sure what was going on in IDM's brain when he brought it in, but he just immediately gets dropped by the Avalanche.
Yeah, and that just hurts like hell. So now he goes into the Grimmsnall, bulks up to get some bulk on, Earthquake hits for a bit, then he tricks
another ring target,
and Grimmsnarl just dies here.
So again, another weird thing, he must not have been running, like, Sucker Punch, I guess, right? That's a pretty common thing you'll see on Grimmsnarl.
Yeah.
Like bulk up Sucker Punch. I don't know. He just dies. He doesn't even click on bulk up or anything. He just kind of lets it die.
Yeah, and then we have Regieleki here, of course, star of the show. Rising Voltage, killing the Swampert. IDM did what he came here to do, and now Tyrantrum will just...
Yeah.
You will Foil Switch here for a big of damage, and Tyrantrum will Head Smash the Silvally for way more damage than IDM probably expected.
Yeah, Head Smash
Second Head Smash,
insane.
Actually not killing it. Then the Flame Charge, very nice for the speed buff and multi-attacking the Tyrantrum. Dead here. But then Lucario comes in, and hey, guess what Lucario learns? Vacuum Wave.
Thunk.
Thunk, and that's Silvally gone.
Yep.
Now, this is something questionable, but I think like IDM just realized he died here, so he just went for Electric Terrain for memes, I guess. But it didn't really matter.
See,
like,
my assumption is... So it's already basically impossible for IDM to win from that position, even in the best case scenario. Yeah. So for him to have even a remote shot at winning, he kind of needs to have Electric Terrain up, so that maybe he can like crit Rising Voltage the Guzzlord if he does somehow manage to kill this Lucario. So it makes sense to me, right? There's like a sort of endgame concept which I tried to actually... We played our match for week 5 this morning, so it's kind of fresh in my head. In the end game of that match, I was in a situation where I knew that I lost, probably, right? Because my last Pokemon that could outspeed your Moxie Sweeper was not going to hit it hard enough to kill it. So I knew that you had high horsepower, which had a chance to miss, or close combat, which could potentially make your defenses low enough to put you in range of death. So even though it seems like a weird move to just kind of arbitrarily sack my Melmetal first, I had to go for it to just see if I could either luck you or like reduce your defenses. And I think that that's kind of the idea that IDM has, which is like, it might seem weird on the outside, but it's like the only victory path that exists for IDM at this moment in time is to have electric terrain up and maybe crit when Guzzlord comes out. So he might as well try and see if maybe Firebolt just like chokes it away by nasty plot or agilitying or something.
Yeah, that could have happened actually. Like if Firebolt just was greedy here, like or went for a priority move or something that just doesn't kill, then this would have hurt a lot. But IDM prayed, put on a candle, asked RNGesus for his blessing, and RNGesus said, "No, you're already 3-0. Why would I do that?"
Yeah, absolutely not, bro. Who do you think you are?
Nope. You displayed like this level amount of hubris that you somewhere have to get smacked down for your sins. Like you really do. So
I'll tell you what, I'm the world's biggest IDM fan. Well, okay, so here's my favorite players, right? My number 1 favorite player is Scoots. My number 2 favorite player is IDM, and then my number 3 favorite player is Kemet, right? I love IDM. I love seeing him play. I think he brings the craziest shit. And I do think there is even just like a spark of genius, right? The identification that like if you remove their immunities, that Corviknight not only becomes like neutral to ground, but it becomes weak to ground because of steel. And that Swampert becomes weak to electric because of its water typing. So he looks at that and he goes, okay, actually, I can abuse those weaknesses with the ring target. Like, I actually think that's a very clever approach, but it's such a meme. I mean, he wasn't even running Giga Drain on Palossand. That could have made it beat the Swampert 1v1. I don't know.
It's just...
I would never back
somewhere
IDM,
like IDM has great ideas, but sometimes the scientist goes a bit too much into the mad scientist department.
Some days you cure cancer, some days you make flubber, and this was kind of a flubber day for IDM4. But you know what? He has the losses to throw around. You know, he's won his first 3 weeks handily. I think he's looking forward to almost certainly qualifying for playoffs over the rest of the season.
Oh yeah.
But I think he just wanted to try something cool, something a little different, and it kind of just did not pan out. And Firebolt, kudos to him. I don't want to like mitigate his win by just saying that it was an IDM cheese failure. But like Firebolt, if you're in a position where you're fighting IDM, it's your game to lose no matter what he does. And Firebolt did not choke. It's so easy to choke a win, and Firebolt clicked the right buttons pretty much every time. So kudos to him. He really kept it together for this one.
Very much congratulations, Firebolt, for this win.
Yep.
Like, this was this moment where Firebolt just looked at the IDM, this big titan of a monster just in front of him, like smacking him down. But the Titan got greedy, so what was it again? David, that was it. So David and the Goliath, he was like, "You're being too greedy, and I'm gonna cut you down right here," and just the Titan falls in front of his face.
Yeah.
Making us all realize once again that IDM is beatable, and he is only human.
Yep.
So, if we ever fight him, to never lose hope.
Right. And here, actually, this will actually be a very good segue, because I wanted to take a look at the current division standings for Division 1, because there's actually not been any Week 5 matches in Division 1 played. So, looking at the website here, you can actually see what the results of that week say. Claire looking absolutely dominant at a 4-0, positive 15 differential. Kenneth getting his win on Scoots. Doesn't necessarily secure him a playoff spot, but he's looking way, way better for it. Scoots getting his first loss. IDM getting his first loss. And Firebolt getting the IDM win suddenly makes that top 5 a hotly contested place to be. If Claire loses the rest of her matches, which are all pretty hard, she could still fall out of playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Like if she somehow messes up or becomes just as greedy as IDM, then this just hurts. Also, seeing IDM not in like first or second place in the division is a sight to behold.
Yeah.
Because that is not something you see every season.
Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy. You know, IDM's differential is so low because his wins have been pretty narrow. And his one loss, I mean, it was also like fairly narrow, but like, God, IDM, he has he doesn't have a mountain. I mean, everyone has a mountain to climb, right? If they want to make playoffs.
Yeah.
But IDM is a guy with like suction cup hands. You know, him climbing mountains is all IDM does. So I don't have any fear for him, even though he's sitting there in fourth. I just think it's interesting to see, like, you know, if Scoots gets like a little sloppy, or if Kemeth like loses his momentum, or and again, even if Claire, right, she has 3 tough matches with Kemeth, IDM, and Scoots yet to be fought. If she loses all 3 of those, then it could be an actual scrap for these top 5 positions, the top 4 positions. So Division 1 is developing.
This is such a close division, and it's a delight to watch right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is so volatile. Anyone can take the spot, even the ones at like 5th. Yeah, Minnesota Magikarps is still in the race to easily like take one of the spots from either Kemeth, Scoots, or IDM, or maybe even Claire if she messes up too badly.
It was rough too. If he had gotten that win versus Claire, right? If he'd hit that head smash, then this division would be 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. It would be literally 5 3-1s.
That would have been very interesting to see.
Yep.
But we'll have to see how this pans out in the following weeks.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Division 1 is the division to watch, I think. And also, I mean, not to be too, I don't know. Look, Division 2 is getting there too. It's actually the gap is narrowing, but we'll talk more about that, of course, in the Division 2 Week 4 recap. Definitely make sure to check that out when it drops.
Don't do it. I'll die for shame.
Yeah.
No spoilers, but I don't like that week.
Hey, we both lost in our Week 4 matches. So, hey.
Yeah,
if you just want to, like, not watch that one, that's also fine. I mean, hey.
Yeah, that's great. Just don't, like, click the link somewhere, or just don't watch it, because nothing interesting there to see, nothing. Go to the week after that. I'll sure you'll love that match.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, sure. Anyway.
Okay,
sure. Anyway, hey, thank you for watching Division 1 Week 4 recap. Once again, my name is Spood with the Southtown Sand Slashers.
My name is Spoodman, or Vincent, from the Neerdowell Luchas.
And we thank you very much for joining us for the Week 4 Division 1 recap. Definitely stay tuned for Week 4 Division 2, and in the meantime, we will catch you later.
Catch you later.